Hello YouTube, take a seat, have a cup of tea, wine if you prefer, doesn't bother me. God, that was almost rhyming. And welcome to The Baron. Now, this is the onset of my writing advice, the actual writing advice, not just building a character, but also questions you need to start asking yourself as a writer or a role player or a GM or someone who creates characters. Even artists should ask themselves these kind of questions, in my opinion, because it helps you flesh out your character and flesh out their look and similar such things. Sorry, I just need to undo my tie. It's quite tight. And I'm going to start quite simple, something I get asked a lot. It's not about weapons, it's something else. It's about companion animals. So, companions and companion animals are obviously two very different things. Companion animals, of course, being animals that follow the character's orders, they do what they're told, they listen and they obey. They are a support. They may help in combat, for example, dogs, big cats, crocodiles, I don't know. Or they may be a bit more support-based, so they may be messenger crows or the like. Similar to Liliana from Dragon Age Inquisition, who has messenger crows. I'd call those companion animals because crows are highly intelligent and don't usually do that kind of thing for their owners. To be honest, they're wild birds. But no, so I've got 4 big questions to ask anyone who's got a companion animal, or anyone who wants to give a character a companion animal, and these should be answered in fair. And I don't really write characters with companion animals. I don't intend to do it just because it's not something I've ever really thought about. I probably should. I probably have a go. No. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to relate it to my own companion animal. My cat, Opal, who is probably somewhere in the room. So if you hear a jingling... No, we're okay. We're safe. No, so my cat, Opal, because I can answer some of these questions with her. And basically the first question is what? What is the animal? Is it a dog? Is it a big cat? Is it a crocodile? Like I said, is it a snake? Is it a ferret? Is it, in fact, their horse? It could be any of these things. It could be all of these things. It could be any number of... It could just be a huge dog that they ride upon and it helps them hunt. And that's fine. It's your fantasy world. It can be whatever you want. But the question you have to ask on the what quickly follows with why. As in, why that animal? Why has that animal decided to follow them? Why were they able to tame that animal? What did they do to gain that animal's trust? And that is different to a question that's going to come up in a few minutes. So it's why, what, how. They're all kind of one question, but they're actually 2 questions. And let's start with Opal. Let's start with going over Opal. Opal, why is she with me? Because I bought her from a Cats Protection League. Fantastic charity, absolutely brilliant, they look after their cats really well, and they are lovely people. Opal was actually about to go on, she'd been there for, I think, 6 to 8 months, and she was about to go on long-term placement. If you don't know what that means, that basically means that no one would be able to adopt her. She'd be a ward of the Cats Protection, which isn't such a bad thing, but it means less money for their charity, and it means that Opal would never get a forever home. Oh, that sounds awful. But no. And me and the Baroness went, and we were looking for a kitten, and this cat just kind of struck us, and she was big and beautiful and black, and big and fluffy. And the Baroness just called her Opal. And it stuck, and there we are. If you don't know what that's from, watch My Little Pony. But yeah. So that's why. But other reasons might be perhaps the dog was a dog they grew up with, like in Dragon Age, or perhaps the big cat or wolf that followed them they rescued from a hunter's snare. So all of these options are perfectly plausible. It's a perfectly reasonable why they would have this animal and how they got them. But now the big question, because there is a difference between a pet and an animal companion. A pet is something that lives in your house, you feed, you water, you care for, not too dissimilar to a small child that never grows up and pays its bills. Sorry, Mum! Oh, if my mother ever watches these, then, sorry. Oh, no. But no, the difference between a pet and an animal companion. An animal companion is more like a companion, like a party member. I've actually seen role-playing groups where there's been 2 rangers and 2 animal companions, and 2 players have actually rolled characters for these animal companions, and they have never spoken, but they've got a very different array of skills and work with their rangers. That is a perfectly viable option, and is actually open to a lot of interpretation, and really good for... To be honest, it's just a really good idea if you want something a bit different. It's not exactly the regular brouhaha of a D&D session, so why not? But no, the big question is, when did they bond? When did the trust of man and pet, or woman and bird, become lifetime bosom buddies, as it were? No. So, just going back to a short story I like to tell about when I realised that Opal was the cat for me. Not long after we got Opal, a mouse got in, as they do around this area. I live in an area that's very heavily forested, and mice and rats, they just get into people's houses. A bit unfortunate, it's a bit of a bother, but that's all it is. But there was this one, and it had gone into the wall, and we had to get it out. So one night, when the Baroness was staying at her parents' house, I went a bit mad, I'm not going to lie, getting really annoyed about this mouse that was in the house. So, oh god, this is embarrassing. I went a bit nuts. I went a bit, oh god, I need this out of my house, I will not have a mouse in my house, because my mum is actually terrified of mice, so I make a point of not wanting anything like that in my house, because you just don't want stuff like that in your house, you just don't. Sorry, but wild rats are vermin for a reason. They're pests. Not the same as pet rats, that's different entirely. But no, so the story. I went a bit mad trying to get this out of the house, and eventually got to the point where I was shirtless, shoeless, standing over a hole in the wall where I was pretty certain this mouse had gone, with a broadsword over my head, 2 blue lines there. I don't know what made me do this. I've got no idea. I can't even explain anymore. I was that tired. And Opal was perched on my desk, looking at the hole. We were both ready. At which point I suddenly realised what I was doing and went, oh god, not this. So I very quickly got in my car, went to a local home bargain shop, and got some humane rat traps that would hopefully work, some bait, and some cider. And I had a few drinks and went to sleep after setting these up. The next morning, none of the traps had been caught, but I found Opal playing with a little mouse. And it was little, it was just a dormouse. The broadsword was definitely overkill. And I realised she hadn't killed it, and I picked it up, got it into one of the humane carriers, took it to a field about 2-3 miles away, and released it. And I realised that was the day that Opal would be the cat for me. And those are the kind of stories you want your characters to have. Those are the kind of stories about, oh yes, my ranger has this amazing sleek black panther because you're apparently you're just role-playing Drizzt from Dungeons and Dragons. But why? Why do you have that animal, and why does that animal listen to you? A typically wild animal that would not usually follow orders. You might come up with a very simple story, like they follow my orders because I give them food. Or you might come up with an amazing story about chasing monstrous rat creatures through hallways and being able to rely on them to have your back, which is how I will tell that story to my children. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe for future videos. Follow the follow the links in the description below to my Patreon page and my Facebook page. Thank you very much. Now get out of my house. Bye.